10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician Chris Aceto on this October 26th, 2020 evening. And Chris, we're inching closer and closer to the Olympia weekend. More drama on the table, as always, it seems like, as we're getting closer. More dropouts. The latest name to join the list, Keon Pearson. What do you think about that? This guy is maybe one of the most talented guys in that 212 division, up there with George Peterson, switching from classic over to the open division, to the 212 division, excuse me. And he has he made a video. He doesn't want to do it. He feels that he's burnt out. He doesn't want to spend more time with his family, and he's not doing the show. I did a response video. I said, look, it's his. I told everyone, you can be as mad as you want as him. It's his freaking opinion. It's his decision. He's got to want to do it. You know, we can't make him do it.
It's his life.
Yeah. What do you think about this decision?
At the end of the day,
8 weeks out.
Well, I mean, there's two ways to look at the decision. One part of me, I admire him legitimately in the fact that, you know, some people, they crack on the Olympia stage. The pressure just gets to them. The prolonged dieting from qualifying gets to them, and they go into their Olympia, their first time out, and there's these lofty expectations, and they crash and burn, and they never mentally come back. So it's a way of, dealing with what could happen. In other words, if he's under that much stress and burnt out that much, I would say it's a good decision to skip it. The flip side is, man, your family's always going to have to wait when you're a bodybuilder.
True.
When you want to be a big time bodybuilder, the fact is, the competition is not only your self improvement, but your competition is your time for your family. Yeah. And it's the same thing, Dave. Anyone who's got a super successful business, they always say, like, God, I got to make more time for my family. I can't put my family on the back burner. Because when you're trying to be number one in something, your family becomes almost like this, competition for you in terms of time.
They have to. That's why. I mean, look, he has a new girlfriend for like a month. So I mean, what happens that first month? It's like the honeymoon, month. But look, he didn't give a reason other than saying he's a little mentally burned. He gave a couple of very vague reasons. And, I did a response video and I said, look, it's really none of our business why he doesn't want to do it. It's up to him. He's the guy who's going to make the decision. You can't be mad at him if his head isn't in it, then he shouldn't do it, because you have to have your head in the Olympia 100%. He's got to be going there to win. If he's going there just to do the show because he's really not into it, then that's a bad mindset to have. Now, there are a couple of scenarios. One being that he legitimately is burnt out, and he's depressed. Who knows? It's unlikely. Coming off a victory like he just had, he probably has a lot of momentum. I would think. I don't think he's that tired. I don't necessarily believe that reasoning. There could be the reason that his family's giving him a hard time. His girlfriend, he just started dating. But that's also kind of probably not the scenario, since the girlfriend just started dating him, and this is the biggest show of his career. He can make money here, so I don't think that's it. The other possibility is that he maybe he just can't afford to do it. Some people like they prioritize. Kai Green would turn his phone off and he wouldn't pay his rent for like 3 months when he's getting ready for a show, when he had no money in the beginning. But a lot of people are not like that. They got to pay bills. They don't want to go into hock for a show that they feel maybe they can't win. If he thought maybe, hey, I'm going to go there, I'm going to win, or I'm going to make a lot of money, which would be the case possibly in the open class, because obviously the prize money is higher. Maybe he can make a case. Maybe he just felt, I'm just not financially where I need to be, and I'm still young. I could do this next year. I'll come back better than I was, and maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
Well, when you get ready for the Olympia, mentally, Dave, getting ready for shows that you did, you have to have the mindset that your house just blew up or your car is on fire,
right?
And you figure out, well, I'll take the bicycle to the gym.
Exactly.
Nothing can upset you because you have to keep your focus on the show. And if you can't keep your mental focus on the show, let me ask you this, Dave. How many bodybuilders have you prepped who mentally fell apart the last 6 weeks and did not show up the way they could have showed up?
Yeah, well, because it's tough. It's tough. And you know what? We don't know what his the process was getting him to this last show where he won. But he certainly wasn't his best. But he's so good that even his almost best is good enough to beat the lineup that he beat. Now, he put up a really good picture. Look at this picture. When he said this was a couple years ago in 2016. He was thinking about doing men's physique. Look at that. Look at those genetics. How crazy is that?
Yeah, looks great. Crazy there. Looks like he's 212 there.
Yeah, except he's probably 160 pounds there, I bet you.
Yeah.
100% natural too, guaranteed. He's he's a genetic freak. Look, and that's when you're a genetic freak, sometimes there's no urgency because you got the tool set to do well. But nothing's promised to you in this life, and tomorrow, something bad could happen. You don't know. So sometimes it's good to seize the moment when you have a chance. But you know what? If he thinks it's not the right time, then he's got to go with his gut. That's the bottom line. There was a lot of controversy. I don't know if we really discussed this when he was working for Blackstone Labs and PJ Braun. PJ kind of took him in as almost like a son, almost, paid his bills, gave him a good contract, and they were working together, and they did really well. And that's when PJ helped him win that New York Pro. If you remember from last year in the Classic. Was it Classic he did? Yeah, that was the last time he competed as Classic. Yeah, but that was his best he ever looked. And PJ did some kind of rant on his Instagram about, I don't know, something about the whole Black Lives Matters things or something like that, and how he felt it was kind of silly. And for some reason, I guess some people took offense to it. Now, I know PJ for a long time. PJ Braun is not a racist by any means. He was given a political opinion. And I guess from what I understand, I think Keon took a lot of heat from a lot of people oh, how could you work for this guy? And he eventually left, PJ. And I know that was not an easy, it wasn't like they didn't like each other. They really liked each other a lot. They got along really well. And that was tough, I think, for Keon to have to leave. I think he felt maybe pressure from other people that he shouldn't stay with PJ. And I think it was a bad decision because I think they had a good relationship. And I think PJ understood him and was really there to help him, to try to get to the highest level. And so, maybe his support system isn't as good as it was with PJ. That's a possibility too, And what do you think about that contract? Scenario?
Was he getting paid by PJ?
Yeah, he was getting paid well, from what I understand.
Well, was he?
I don't know if he's getting. I know he works in. What? I don't know. I know he works for that HD company now. Is that Dorian Hamilton's company?
Yeah. So
I don't know. But I don't know what he's making. I don't know what he makes for it. I bet you PJ was paying him a lot more. I think PJ was paying a lot of his expenses. Well, it's a money thing, but also a support system thing too. Sometimes, PJ really PJ doesn't help people anymore. So that might have been his only client, so he probably gave him a lot of attention. I think from what I understand, PJ wanted to move him down to Florida too. So I don't know, sometimes, if your support system is not in place, it's tough. He might have struggled to get through this show. Even though he won, we might assume it was an easy cakewalk for him, but it might have been a tough battle. And so he might really mentally be in a bad place. Maybe he's regretting his decision to have left the PJ. I don't know. I'm throwing scenarios out there, obviously. But the bottom line is that it's his decision to make. So people shouldn't be getting all up in arms about whether he's doing the Olympia or not. That's not, I would have done it if I were him, but I'm not him, so I can't really impose my own thing, my own will on him.
Yeah. If you were coaching him, what would you tell him?
I would tell him, if you're not happy, don't do the show. If you're not ready. Wouldn't you? I mean, if you're not mentally in the right place, don't do it. I would try to encourage him to do it. I had Anthony Pasquale drop out on me 5 days before the USA, and he was going to win. I couldn't convince him. I couldn't get a call back from him. I talked to him once. He wrote me an email, I think. Said, I don't want to do it. I said, what are you, crazy? That was it. I haven't talked. And then now we talk all the time. But, when someone makes up their mind to do something or not do something, that's it, a lot of times, Yeah. I tried all the Jedi mind tricks I could do. I used all the Jedi mind tricks I had in my.
Would you do this? Yeah, it's a good decision. Pull out. You tell them you try to go that way.
I said, you will do the USA. You will do the. Yes, I will do the USA. But the Jedi mind tricks didn't work on Anthony. I don't know. I guess Keon didn't have anyone try the Jedi mind tricks on him yet. But we're losing a good guy. But you know what? That 212 division is stacked to the hilt between George Peterson and Kamala Gargny, the defending champion, Derek Lunsford. Sean Clarita. I mean, it's going to be a killer 212 Olympia. So Keon just would have made it that much better. Killer. I don't even know if know if Keon's at the point where he could have won this year, but he certainly would have been top 5. There's no doubt about that. I think.
Yeah, he would have been on the edge, the 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. I think. Yeah,
he's one of the shorter guys in that lineup too. So
yeah, I mean, like everything else, you have to see people side by side, right?
He's a freak of nature. And he probably could gain another 10 pounds, if not more, and still fit in that class. So imagine him next year, 10 pounds muscle more. Yeah. I mean, devastating, right? Yeah, that's what I think. All right, let's move to another topic. Did you see Arnold Schwarzenegger had heart surgery? Did you see that?
I did. I thought of. I knew you were going to bring that up because. Oh, you did. You're a heart specialist.
Heart specialist.
What do you have?
No, well, he had that. He had the other valve replaced a couple years ago. One of his heart valves. And remember when he had that voluntary surgery? He knew he had needed it done, but he was holding off. And then he got the one surgery. I think it was for one of the. I don't remember which valve it was. He had replaced, and then I guess another one, but the aortic valve went bad on him. Now I don't know if they put a mechanical valve in or if they use like a pig valve. Usually they have to put a mechanical valve in. The problem with those is they work really well, but they make a clicking noise. You can actually almost hear it. So, but he's like what? He's 70, right? Arnold?
Dude, he's got to be more than 70, right?
No, I think he's 70. So, I mean, things go wrong when you get to that age. I mean, he's got to,
valve. What happened? The first valve apart, Dave?
The aortic valve. Remember, so the left ventricle is the chamber of the heart that pumps all the blood to the body. So the valve that leads from the left ventricle to the aorta, which is the main artery that pumps blood to the whole body, that's the aortic valve. So that valve is important that it closes and opens, properly. So you get proper pressurization and all that stuff. So it can't be leaky, or you're not going to get good cardiac output to your body. So he had that replaced. Now I have I've talked about this. I have an aortic aneurysm, which is an enlarged aorta. Now, at some point in time, I hope not. They're keeping, they're tracking. I hope they may have to replace that aorta. Just the beginning part. My valve, however, is very functional and it's good, thank God, because the valve is more difficult usually to do. Now, to me, it seems like the aorta would be more difficult, but I guess the valve, because it's in the part of the heart, is supposedly more difficult. But you got to remember, when they do these operations, these open heart surgeries, and I'm sure 20 years from now we'll be laughing because they'll probably be doing everything through robotic laparoscopic surgeries, but when they open up your chest, they got to kill you basically. They put you on ice basically, and they put you on a heart lung machine. They divert your blood away from all the organs, and they just basically circulate it so that your brain is being perfused, and they're basically freezing the rest of your body, which is getting no blood. It's a very scary. It's a scary surgery, even though they do a lot of them nowadays. But it's a scary thought of what they're actually doing to you. They're basically killing you, and then they're fixing you and they're hooking you back up, again. A lot of things can go wrong.
It's a great, yeah.
I mean, you know what? I think about this is I know too much almost. I know what what they're doing technically.
Just a visual of that.
Well, people said when I got my shoulders done, replaced them. They're like, "Did you watch this? Did you see the surgeries? Did you watch all those surgeries on YouTube?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I know what they do. I don't want to see them actually do it. I know what they're doing already. You know what I mean? I've seen it already live. So, I don't want to remind myself too much of what they're doing. But look, modern science is great. I mean, the doctors are phenomenal. He went to the Cleveland Clinic, which is the best heart hospital. That, and I believe Mount Sinai in New York City. Those are the two best. So he was in good hands, and he was walking around. They showed him walking around. He was walking around Cleveland after that, having a grand old time. So Arnold's a tough character. He'll probably live to 100. Because he's
could have got the interview had you out in Cleveland, Dave.
Yeah,
you could have been right there.
I should have waited outside the hospital, right?
Someday. You could have jumped out.
I'll get him when he's completely senile.
RxMuscle.
Yeah, he won't remember who I am. He'll be completely senile. I'll get him. He won't know anything. But Arnold is the father of bodybuilding. As far people call Joe Weider the father, I call Arnold the father because Arnold actually competed. So he's our patriarch at least now.
And Arnold,
until he's no longer here with
Joe's
us.
the grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. What else? So did you see the? I find this really stupid, to be honest with you, but someone started a petition to get rid of Shawn Ray as the, live stream commentator. Fuad Abiad.
I started that, David.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay. Fuad Abiad had talked about the fact that him and Ian Valliere were talking about on Fuad's TV show that they didn't really like the way Shawn commentated because he puts down people too much, and he's too he points out too many negative things about people, and he doesn't have respect for the competitors and stuff like that. Now, I mean,
he doesn't know the difference. He doesn't know the difference between Ian Valliere and
Antoine Valliere. I think you mispronounced someone's name or something like that. But the bottom line is that you don't have to like what he's saying on the live stream. He doesn't have to kiss everyone's ass on the live stream to be a good commentator. And you might not like Shawn Ray as a person, but I think he does a pretty good job as a commentator. I think he's a little lazy sometimes. He doesn't know the women or anything like that. He knows all the guys in the open and 212 lineup, and I think he's good. I think he's got a good voice. I think he has good insights into what he does. But people get so they get so upset about if you criticize anything personal about them, right? I mean, isn't this society like so sensitive now that everyone's? Remember when I criticized Will Harris that time on a wrap up about the fact that he wasn't in shape and he got all bent out of shape, wouldn't talk to me for like a couple of years, and he came in like last place. He was like 16th at the show, so it wasn't like I said something that wasn't true. So I don't know. Do you think these guys are overreacting? Ian Valliere is adamant that he should be gone.
Well, he's what we have, so you don't know.
Well, they can replace him if they want. I mean, I know you don't like Shawn Ray personally, but do you think he does a good job?
I think he does a. It feels like a bubblegum job. It doesn't feel like passionate. That's one.
Okay.
So that's a negative. A positive that he knows the history of the sport and he knows the players.
Yeah.
And he knows the history of the players. That's a positive. But a lot of people would.
Yeah.
But Shawn can't give praise to people he doesn't like, and that's a downfall.
Yeah.
Because he can't.
Yeah.
He can't give praises to a bodybuilder who looks unbelievable. He would just say, "This is the best he's been." If the guy looks unbelievable,
right?
And he's announced on live streams. He said things about people that have nothing to do with their physiques, that they're having I heard he's having marital problems on a live stream,
right? At
the Olympia.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable.
Well, I don't remember.
That he should have been fired for.
What was the situation? Who was having marital problems? Who is?
No, I don't want to say who it is,
Oh.
but I guarantee the person listening right now knows I'm talking about him.
But was it relevant to the fact
not
that
having marital problems?
was it? Oh, yeah.
No, the guy placed extremely high at the Olympia,
okay.
one of his highest placings ever.
That's
So
kind of weird.
if he got like 16th,
Mm-hmm.
you could say, well, I've heard that he's having some, family issues.
Right.
Because that's why, in other words, that's why he looks so terrible. But he's placing extremely high and still saying he's having problems with his wife.
Yeah. Well, I guess he was trying
That's
to
Shawn Ray.
he was trying to give an example, like what was.
No, he wanted to put a dig into the person who's
Okay.
on the stage.
Oh, well, that's
and
not,
that person
that's
on
not
the stage has said something negative about Shawn.
Interesting. All right. Well,
I guess the question is, do I think he does a great job? No. I'll give you an example. I think.
Should he be removed?
think,
That's the question.
No, because he
Shawn-
doesn't do a shitty job.
Right. I don't think.
Because he does not do a shitty job.
I'd rather listen to him.
I said he does a pretty good job.
I'd rather listen to him than some of these people that they've stuck in there before. And I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to start a war with people, but you know who they are. They put some people in there for whatever reasons. They were sponsors,
like non-bodybuilding.
Yeah. And they were terrible.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any. They put some girls in there. One time they had a girl in there who was like didn't know anything about men's bodybuilding. She didn't even know what the women bodybuilders were. So I mean. They've done that, and that's been in the past because of sponsors, placing them in places that they shouldn't have been. My solution is
I'll tell you who does.
Well, yeah. What were you
I'll tell you who does a much better job than Shawn. Dan Solomon, I think, does an outstanding job.
Yeah,
I've always been impressed with Dan Solomon's.
Yeah, because you know what it is, he has all his facts. So, he's got this fact sheet there too.
He has. Yeah,
right.
He has all the facts.
Yeah, well, he does his homework.
He has all the facts, and he knows how to, for some reason, get the listening audience at home like drawn in and excited when someone is looking really good who we didn't expect to look good, for example.
Right.
Where Shawn would just be like monotonous, blah 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 blah. But I think together as a team, I think they're good. Shawn and Dan, I think they're very good together.
And as much as I don't really love Bob Ciccarello, I think Bob does a pretty good job too. I think he's got a good insights. What they should do, this is what they should do. I think he does a great job. Yeah, because he knows the sport. What they should do is they should offer, because now that the live streaming is the most important thing, I don't even know if there's going to be an audience at this Olympia. I don't think they're going to be able to have one. So they're going to have a live stream is going to be the way that 90% of the, and here's another thing before I even give you my idea. The irony of the whole thing is that, and people don't know this, I've done a live stream once at the Arnold. You don't sit in the audience like they do at a baseball game and watch the game. You're sitting in a booth watching a TV set. So you're basically doing the live stream analysis based on the same live stream that everyone at home is watching. So you don't even need to be there. You do not need to be there to do the live stream commentary. Now,
you actually do need to be there because you know what?
Well, they should have it live. You should be sitting in the front row with the live stream with the headset on and everything like that. And you should be doing the commentary. That's the real way they should be doing the live stream commentary.
Well, I always hear when I say at a show like, "Geez, Palumbo got a gift," and then someone will say like, "Well, you have to be there."
Yeah.
You can't go by the video. You can't go by, you have to be there.
Right.
And I said, okay. So now we're learning that I'm learning, right? I always thought they were there. Really? I thought they were 10th row.
So here's the problem. If you put them in the front row or the front where they should be sitting, right, to have the best seat, which is where the judges sit, then the judges are going to hear them doing their play-by-play commentary. Imagine you and I was sitting in the front row next to the judges, basically, because that's the best seat, with a camera on us and all mic'd up. And we got, John Nattyshak to our left, and he's listening to our play-by-play. You don't think that's going to influence his decision-making? So it's not, you can't do that. So where do you put the color commentators? You can't put them off to the side, then they can't see. So it's a logistical nightmare really with bodybuilding. Whereas with baseball or boxing, they got options. You know what I mean? Of where they're going to put people because it's a ring. It's a full ring. You can move people around. So it is a problem. So anyway, having said that logistical problem is that basically the people doing the live stream commentary are sitting in a booth watching a TV set. Why not offer? And Dan, if you're listening, here's my idea: offer multiple streams. In other words, have the Shawn Ray stream. You could offer a Dave Palumbo stream and Chris Aceto stream. You could offer I don't know who else. Fuad wants to do one. You could do a Fuad stream, and basically it gets streamed to the same. In other words, to the same area where people who are paying for their pay-per-view, whatever they're charging for the weekend, I don't even know what it is, can just decide, I want to watch the Chris Aceto Dave Palumbo stream because I want to hear their commentary. I want to watch the Shawn Ray stream because I like to hear him and his stories. Or I want to maybe I'm a fan of Fuad's. I want to see his. Or whoever the case may be, whoever the people who would be chosen to do the different streams. Now you're giving people variety almost. It's like they're getting more for their money. They can pick who they want. And with today's day and age, and the fact that you don't have to be there in person, I can do this from my house. I can grab the stream and then, upload it to their stream, and people can watch that if they want. And Daniel and Jake Wood and the Olympia people will still make the same money, if probably more, and the fans will be happy, because they can listen to who they want. So that's my idea.
Well, you and I already did live streams of the Olympia when we were banned from it. Yeah, we didn't even go to the Olympia. We sat and watched the live stream the same way everyone else does, and we did our own live stream. And then we got more people watching us than ever. That goes back to the days when they had the worst people commentating, if you remember who was doing it then. You'll have to text those names to me.
Well, yeah, you probably wouldn't even know half of them. They were, most of them were very unmemorable.
Oh,
names, They were no names, basically. Why they picked them to commentate on bodybuilding, I have no idea. But there was obviously a reason. I think, I think bodybuilding.com was sponsoring the live stream at the time. So bodybuilding.com put their people who they were paying as representatives of their website. Because remember, they were that was a big deal back then, bodybuilding.com. There was no Amazon, wasn't selling supplements and stuff like that. So so they put their people in place. And I understand that. They put up the money for it. But it was just not, it was terrible. So the fact that we did our own live stream, it worked out really well. But I think that would be a good idea. Dan should consider it, especially in this weird 2020 year. It might be something kooky enough that might just catch on and work. And like I said, what's the negative? What's the drawback? As long as you're making your same pay-per-view money, you can't go wrong. So I'm offering. I throw my ideas out there. Not all the ideas are good. Some of them suck.
Having said that, have you wagered now on audience and no audience?
I don't think there's going to be an audience there. I can't imagine there's going to be if there is, it's going to be a very small audience. It'll probably be like a VIP only. I think that's what they're saying now. I think only the VIPs can go. I think that's how they refunded everyone else's tickets. That's at least what I heard. I should really ask Dan Solomon because I don't like to. I don't want to.
Speaking of COVID, you saw Rafael who got COVID.
Yeah, Rafa Brandeo with COVID. What had that happen? You think he got it at the show, or you think he got it after that?
I don't know. He just back in Brazil, and
you think he got it in Brazil?
And no, I mean he was back in Brazil. I didn't hear from him.
How many weeks was it after the Spain show?
When was the Spain show? 2 weeks ago?
It was the week before the
it was 5 days ago he came down with it.
I think it was the 10th. Was it October 10th?
So the 20th. Yeah, you're right. So he got 10 days later.
Yeah, so he probably picked it up at the show. I wonder if anyone else got it in that lineup. The funny thing is the only person who's claiming to have it probably doesn't have it, which is Ramy. He didn't even go to the show. Well, he got it.
Rafael can't train.
Right, yeah, but isn't it funny that Ramy got COVID and didn't even go to the show? And unless he showed up and maybe Rafa
can
got
train, and Rafael went to the show.
Maybe Rafa was living with Big Ramy. We don't even know about it. That's where he got it from. Maybe Ramy gave it to him.
No, he didn't get it from Ramy.
Of course. Well, Ramy didn't have it. That's why. Of course, he didn't get it from Ramy.
Maybe he got it on the plane.
Yeah.
A plane safe, Dave? You're a doctor.
Recirculated air. It's got to be the worst thing. If someone's got it on the plane, it's probably it's probably not a good idea. That's why I'd be afraid to fly right now because of that fact. We went to a little chicken and pig farm with the kids. And there was so many people there. I was a wreck. I was like,
of course,
mackerel. Right? It was outside, but
because
still,
people want to do something.
Oh, I know. I couldn't believe it. It was $12 a head too, and it was the worst. It was the worst place we ever went to. The kids, they like anything, They get to. My son was running around picking up chickens and like a lunatic, and they encourage it there. So he was, he picked up this. They had this rabbit. This rabbit had to be like the size of a small dog. He went and grabbed. I didn't even know you could pick up a rabbit because rabbits usually don't want to be picked up. He grabbed this thing and had it over its shoulder. Everyone was looking at him like, holy mackerel. He's fearless. He's absolutely fearless. I'm glad he is. I'm glad he is. Glad he's into animals.
Those.
Speaking of Ramy, though, we did an iron debate about whether Ramy, Ramy got these special invites to the Olympia. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we did an iron debate about whether he should have gotten the special invite or not. I had Ian Valliere on the show. I had Patrick Moore. I had Milos. And, we debated it. Milos felt that, yes, it was okay. And it was good to get him on there. And Ian Valliere and Patrick said it was not fair. They felt that, he should have made it. He should have planned. He should have made an earlier attempt to do it. Like this is, if you don't qualify on points, you don't qualify on points. That's it. There's a system in place now. Back in the day, there was no wild card in place, right? If you couldn't compete, or if you didn't win it, if you didn't place top 3 or whatever the qualifications were, then you didn't go. So, I thought they made some good points, and I also thought that Ian Valliere made a very good point in saying that, Ramy was 4th in points. They took the top 3, right? Because he had points from the Arnold Classic. Why didn't they just, rather than give him a special invite, why didn't they just say, you know what, we're going to take the top 5 point getters, which would have included Ramy and one other, I don't know who was 5th, I don't remember, in the point standings. But that would have invited 2 more people, and it would have looked at least, hey, you know what, we gave 2 more people who earned it, an ability to go to the Olympia. And I think that would have quieted everyone's, opinion about whether Ramy deserved to get a special invite, because it wouldn't have been a special invite. They would have said in 2020, in this COVID year, we gave top 3 at Spain. And so, what we're going to do, we're going to give the top 5 point getters an invite to the Olympia. That would have ended it. No one could have said anything. It wouldn't have mattered if Ramy faked COVID or not. He would have qualified on points. They would have said, all right, we're taking 5 rather than 3. But those other guys busted their butt. Ian Valliere couldn't go back he had to quarantine 14 days every time he left and went back to Canada there. You think he wanted to do that? And he had to do it twice, right? Because he had to do the New York Pro after Tampa because he didn't qualify in Tampa. He wanted to make sure he had enough points. Luckily, he wound up winning in New York. So, is it fair? What's your opinion?
I don't like I just don't like the idea of a special invite, because what's special about it? How do you determine what's so special about it?
It's special in that you're letting the person do the Olympia and they didn't qualify.
I also don't like the idea of. I still stand by the idea of taking top 3 from New York Pro. Right,
but you can't. Yeah, but forget that, because they're not doing it anymore. They got a point system in place instead. So I agree with you. Okay, I like that too.
So, all right. So as I said this before the year got started, when I was at the Arnold and they canceled the show almost, I said that they have to take these shows, including the Arnold, and take the top 5 from the Arnold, go to the New York Pro, take top 3. And I said, these shows are not going to happen. And we had this discussion on the show. And most of these shows, I was right, either did not happen, or they got pushed way back. So people, had difficulty prepping for them. I just think that a lot more people other than Ramy should have been invited to the show this year.
Right.
And to go back to, Cedric's my man. I don't think he deserved the I don't like special invites there. It's like it's the wild card. It's there and you can use it.
Milos.
I don't like the idea of having a special invite.
Milos quoted Joe Weider.
It was just Joe Weider's way.
Right.
It was just made up by Joe. So Joe said, because you know what? You think Lou Ferrigno was going to ever qualify for anything? No. So Joe said, okay, we call it the special invite.
Right. And he gave Gunther the special invite 2 or 3 times because he loved him. Yeah.
Yeah, but who was a special invite 2 years ago?
Lavroni, right? Or Wheeler, right?
Was it Wheeler? Lavroni the year before?
Right, but they don't give one every year. But Joe did that because...
Well, that was my point.
Yeah.
Dave, that was my point. Because I thought the answer was going to be, who was the special invite 2 years ago? I didn't realize it was Wheeler. I thought you were going to say there was no one.
Oh.
And I was going to say, well, why exercise it now? If you're going to have a special invite, you exercise it every single year. Right? It's a special invite.
Well, you don't have to use it, but Joe always gave it out because he would pick his favorite people and he would invite them to the show. Like, DeMeo got the special invite that one year. Gunther got it twice, I think, because Joe wanted him in the show. They gave they used to give an invite to the winner of the World Amateur Championships, right? I remember.
I guess so. I guess the more important thing is Ramy, the type of bodybuilder you want to see in the Olympia? Yes.
Of course he is.
Are there other people, under the circumstances that we're in, deserve to be on stage? I think Steve Kuklo, who was 4th at the Arnold.
I was going to just say that.
Regardless of number of points. He's the type of guy now who's on the tail end. Steve Kuklo right now has a physique where he's at the tail end of first call-outs in the Arnold and the Olympia and deserves to be there. In other words, he can't beat like Brandon. He can't beat a Bonac. He can't beat a Hardy. But he's wider than those guys.
Yeah.
He's heavier than those guys. He's bigger than those guys. He's maturing and improving his physique. He's worthy to be called in the very first call-out, and yet he's not at the Olympia. I don't know if he wanted to do the Olympia this year or not. That's a whole different story. But
sure,
he was 4th at the Arnold.
Yeah, no,
you're right. Arnold. It's not like it's like St. Louis Pro.
Right.
And that goes for top 5. I mean, Sergio was 5th.
Yeah.
Top.
What's going on with it? What is?
I mean, well, Max Shaw.
What's going on with Sergio? By the way. I haven't heard.
He's training out in San Diego. I think he's in Mexico this weekend. He's in Mexico.
He's very quiet.
Doing a seminar. If you follow him on Instagram, then he's not quiet. Only if you don't.
It's true. You're right. I interviewed Akeem Williams this past week.
He's definitely not quiet. That's for sure.
No, he's not. I'll get him on the show. I got to get him on an Iron Debate. Get him juiced up and fired up about the whole Olympia.
No. He's a great preview show, and he would be, Sergio would be a perfect example of a great athlete and commentator because he would just tell it like it is. Some people get their feelings hurt.
You're right.
But I bet he'd be right on most of the things.
Is he going to the Olympia?
Akeem.
Probably not, right? Is Sergio going to the Olympia?
Yeah, he'll probably go.
If he doesn't, I'll get him from his house. I'll do a live stream with him. I'll do a live commentary from our houses.
He did the wrap up. He did the Olympia lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, the wrap up last year, Dave, for your show.
It was great.
For your station.
He was great. It was great. All right, let's talk about Akeem. I interviewed Akeem Williams, and Akeem is a great character because, Oscar Arden, who trains him now. Oscar went to Akeem's. This is a great story. You probably didn't listen to the interview. Oscar moved in with Akeem the last couple weeks to make sure that. Remember we were just joking about that the other day. to make sure that Akeem didn't screw anything up the last 3 weeks or something like that. It took 2 weeks. I don't know what it was. And Oscar was like cooking him his food. He pulled the whole, like we did with Kai Green. We were just joking about it last week, which I thought was so funny. And I was laughing because, and I don't think Akeem knew I was left because, we were just joking about Oscar doing that. Who else would do that, right? Move in for 2 weeks. No one. And he'll do it for the Olympia too.
Did Oscar say, what? Did he just show up? Did he just show up with like the bags and say, "I'm here"?
Probably. He didn't want to take. So because Oscar invests a lot of emotional energy in these guys, and Akeem is very loyal. I'll tell you that much. So I don't think that Oscar ever has to worry about Akeem leaving. But we're like maybe some of the other guys who did to him. But I'm telling you, Oscar being there is very good for Akeem because number one, it forces Akeem to pose because Akeem won't practice the pose, without Oscar being there. And number two, he makes sure that Akeem would never cheat if Oscar was in the house with him because you almost feel guilty with the guy there, like right. It's like you have to be on your toes with him there. It's like you're in the army or something like that. When you're alone, a lot of guys are not that disciplined. Like I would never cheat just because I'm like a nutcase, or like I'm like a guy, Sister Nina. But some guys, if they get a little weak and they're hanging out on the Saturday night and they got a couple of weeks to the show, they might pop a few extra, peanuts here and there. You can't do that when Oscar's there, right?
So Dave, you have to. Well, I keep thinking that you're in New York. Right. How crazy is that?
Yeah,
I was going to say you have to go video it or send somebody to video them. The last
I'll send
2 weeks before the Olympia.
I'll send Sid over there.
With Oscar moving in.
Another thing that you have to take into account is that when I was training with Akeem and doing his diet, I told him to go to Oscar and because I figured Oscar would help him with his back development, which he has tremendously. Because Oscar really is a technician when it comes to that kind of stuff, and he's hands on. He's in the gym with these guys training. So, Akeem was living in Brooklyn at the time. So it was like he got on the bus probably, and it took him, 20 minutes to get there, if that much. Now he lives in Jersey. So he was driving, to Oscar's almost every day. And originally, I think then he cut it back to twice a week, but because he found a gym by his house. But, during COVID, of course, also think about it. There was no gyms open in New York for how long? Thank God Oscar had a gym, that Akeem was driving once again, right. It could have been 2 hours each way if you hit traffic. Talk about level of commitment, right? You drive 2 hours to go train, you're going to give 100% to that workout. I guarantee it, right? It's like you feel like you have to get your money's worth out of what you just did. It's amazing. Yeah. I said Akeem like he had a full-time job. That's a full-time job driving in New York 2 hours each way. Believe me. It's horrible.
Evan
it's not like driving in Florida.
Right?
What'd you say?
Evan used to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how many.
Evan used to do it. Do you have your earphones on?
Yeah, of course.
No, he used to do it every day to go down to see
Oh,
Oscar.
He did? Oh, my God.
When he was prepping for the New York Pro, which he won.
I didn't know that.
He used to drive down there every day. I think it was like, how far is it from New Haven down to Oscar?
It's probably 2 hours right there, 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Evan probably was like multitasking though. Evan probably loved it. It was probably like a spiritual journey for him. For Akeem, it's probably a nightmare.
Yeah.
Right? He probably paid like
Evan
music in the car, like Evan, special music and stuff.
Yeah. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I mean, but Akeem did it all the time. Evan only did it for a couple of weeks, I think, before the show, but who knows? Look, I admire that kind of
Oscar on the show with.
Yeah, I should get Oscar on. You're right. I admire that kind of dedication, though, and I think that that's why you win shows when you put that kind of effort into it. Now, I'm not saying you have to go and drive 4 hours, every day to be a great bodybuilder. What I'm saying is that when you commit to doing something, and you say, you know what, I am going to be my best no matter what, whatever it takes. For some people, they need that extra motivation. They need someone there watching over them. They need Oscar, cooking their meals and yelling, counting reps for them. And that's what Akeem needed. And so that's what he got. For other guys, it's something different. They need a coach who's going to, they're going to send pictures to. For other people, it's, having no stress in their life, maybe breaking up with a girlfriend, getting rid of whatever's, bothering them or disrupting them from being the best that they can be. You have to figure out what that is for you. And if you can give 100% to what you're doing, you're going to get those results back, and I admire what Hakeem accomplished. It was his best look, I thought, that I'd seen, muscle size wise, back development wise, could he be a little drier maybe, but he was pretty close to being perfect, and he beat a very good lineup. You can't, it wasn't like a walk through the park he beat, and that's made that victory that much sweeter, I think.
That commitment is like juxtaposed with comes full circle with how we started the show with Keon.
Exactly.
In other words, it's not a knock on Keon, but you have to be committed and all in. You have to look your best. If you're like mostly committed, mostly in, it's going to end up in a disaster. It always does.
Yeah, I mean, what? Remember, we talked about Jay would drive from Boston up to your place in Maine. What, once a week?
10 minutes. 3 times a week, every other day.
And how long was that drive?
3 times. 3 hours, and he'd stay for 20 minutes. That's 3 days a week.
You didn't even train him. Imagine he didn't even get a workout out of you. He just got to see you.
No, Dave, and he used to come up. A lot of times he'd be at the house at like 7:30. So that means he left at 4:30 in the morning.
Wow. The only advantage. The drive from Boston to Maine is a lot less stressful. Right?
Yeah.
There's no traffic.
Yeah. What's sick is that he would look better every 2 days. Bigger. That's when he was in his mega growth spurt.
Yeah. How many speeding tickets did he get during that time?
I don't think he ever got any tickets.
Now Jay probably never drove.
He used to play Journey on
the Journey.
I'm sure.
But that's commitment.
Don't stop believing. That's what.
In '96, I met this guy, actually Pete Scalisi, who owned Gear for a while. He introduced me. I was working for his company. It was called Huge Nutrition, and he hooked me up with this guy John Maglio, who was a posing coach. I had never had one, and I really needed the work. I was not a good poser. This was in the '90s, '96 Nationals, actually the year Jay won. And I would drive from Long Island, where I lived, to Howard Beach, which was about a 35-minute ride each way, every morning, for like 3 to 5 days a week, to work on posing for an hour and a half with him. And it was, I was a guy who liked to sleep late, but when you're dieting for a show, you wake up a little earlier. So I would get in that car. I usually went with my girlfriend at the time. We would drive there, and she'd go work out in the gym, and I would pose for an hour and a half with this guy. And it really, really changed, my ability to present myself. And it was something I hated to do. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But I knew that I was not posing enough. And with all the muscle I had on my body, I was big. I was 268 on stage, I needed that posing endurance. And I probably still could have done even more. But it definitely changed the look of my physique and my ability to present it on stage. And I had to put that work in. And I wish I had done more posing while I competed, after that too. But I did. I learned that, this was another component. And I had to do a lot less cardio because of that. Actually, I don't think I did any cardio for that show, because that posing session was more brutal than any cardio I could have possibly done. So you got to find what your weakness is. And that was my weakness. My weakness was not conditioning, and it was not muscle size. It was presentation. So I embraced that. And I said, okay, I got to do whatever it takes. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you would drive down to Bob Grushkin's. How long did that take you? 6 hours?
6 hours. 6 hours. But I couldn't.
That's a level of dedication.
It'd be like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, luckily Bob would let you sleep over.
Ask anyone. Yeah. Ask anyone how hard it was to pose for him.
Yeah, because he would be like, "Oh, you don't look good. I don't know. You're."
He posed you for hours and hours and hours. Like crazy.
Oh, he would.
Yeah.
And you had to do it. And you had to do it in a hypoxic situation because he was smoking cigarettes the whole time while you were doing it, right? He was blowing cigarette smoke in your face. So it was like Hypoxia training. It's hypoxia training. You probably smell like an ashtray when you
try to look at that. Oh, totally. Your clothes would stink of smoke.
You couldn't wait to get home. All your clothes, you hope you had to take a shower, get that smell of smoke off.
Your bag would smell like cigarettes. The bag that you bring into the house after like 2 days, it'd stink.
Right. Terrible. But Bob was the best, so you went there. I mean, you did what you had to do. It is what it is. And I think that more people have to understand that. I mean, look at George Peterson. I know he trains at Justin's house a lot, and he poses with Justin constantly. I mean, and the guy keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. And there's a reason. Because he's not satisfied with the way he looks. He wants to keep improving.
Yeah. The first person I ever heard, and I thought that was bizarre, traveling such a great distance to get a good workout was Jay. He was like 19, and he would tell you exactly where he went from which gym to which gym, but he would leave Worcester to travel like 90 miles on like shoulder day or back day because some gym he found, had better back equipment. I'd be like, wow, maybe it was 2 hours. You're going to travel all that just for back? And he'd be like, yeah, I gotta have a good back workout. That
was fun. You know what? I forgot that. When you were back competing back in the days, you would look for, I got to go to that gym to train legs. They got this one piece of equipment that I love there, and no one else has it. That kind of thing. Or they got that one back machine. Oh, I really feel it in my rhomboids when I squeeze on that machine. No other machine. You would go there, right? It was like you were cheating almost. You were like, holy shit, I'm gonna get an advantage if I go to this gym. Bob Bottom's gym, Strong and Shapely, he had those like crazy. Bob had these dumbbells made for Ronnie Coleman. They were like, were they like 240-pound dumbbells or something like that? Some crazy fucking dumbbell there. And I couldn't move it, except I would row it. I could do a one-arm row with it. That was about it. But there were guys that could bench. They could press it. I don't know how they. At my biggest, I was never a good dumbbell presser. I don't know why. I just couldn't stabilize the dumbbells well. I would always be like almost falling off the bench. And I had big legs. Well, even if you have someone hand it to them, I had trouble balancing. I don't know if it was because I had shoulder problems, and so the stabilization really hurt my shoulders. Some people just get them up there themselves and they bang out the set, and I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I was strong, but I wasn't doing the 150s, I would do like the 130s, maybe the 140s, maybe. 150 was like they were too big. I couldn't control them. They would almost like come out to the side. Yeah. I think it's because my bone structure wasn't wide enough. How some guys are like, Jay's so wide that it's almost like he has a better base of stabilization. It was like I'm narrow almost. So it was like it would literally, if I leaned a little to the left, I'd fall off the bench. The dumbbell was so heavy it would pull me off the bench. And I just felt it was dangerous.
What was your favorite chest exercise?
I liked the incline barbell. No? Yeah, incline barbell presses. I didn't really do a lot of flat benching. I did mostly incline presses. I found that worked the best.
Yeah.
Get the best feel from it.
Big incline or small incline?
I like the small. I like the small. I like the small incline. Yeah, like 30 degrees. I felt it was too steep. What do
you think of decline benches?
I just didn't. I always said to myself, and I don't know if this is an accurate thing to say. I never saw anyone with a weak lower chest. The only guys with weak lower chests were like guys who had gyno. So when you're on stage, what are you seeing? You want to see that thick upper pec, right? That always connects to your neck. That shows strength and fullness. You never see anyone with big upper pecs and they say, well, too bad he's got weak lower pecs, No, it doesn't happen. You want to see that big bulbous upper pec development. So I felt like pec, the declines really, all they did was make you want to pass out, because your head was in a declined position.
Yeah, position.
I always got a crazy head rush.
Weird.
When I squatted, I don't know if you ever did this. You ever squat and you see while you're squatting, you start seeing stars, and you're not sure if you're going to pass out or not.
Yeah. You rack it.
I didn't rack it. I would keep going. Say, I hope I don't pass out.
Of course you would.
And I don't know if it was a hypoxic. I don't know if it was because all the blood was in the muscles and there wasn't enough in the brain, or what was going on, or maybe because you hold your breath on the way down. I don't know what it was. When I would get on the really heavy weight, I sometimes would see like literally stars. And luckily, when you're squatting, the good thing about squatting is you're not moving. So you're in one stationary spot. All your job is just go up and down with the weight, up and down with the weight. If I had to walk with the weight, like do lunge, I would definitely would have passed out. There's no doubt about it. It's a very anaerobic activity, when you're squatting. It's not like very aerobic. So if it was more aerobic, I think that I probably would have lost consciousness. And it's just this. I think it was the stabilization of that super heavy weight on your back. That's what I think it was. It was traumatizing to the nervous system.
Stars or cause some stars. Yeah.
Don't you think it was traumatizing to the nervous system? I couldn't sleep the night after the legs.
Heavy squats. Well, you're just like too amped up, or
it was like my nervous system was. I felt like I was shit. Like I had like battle fatigue or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's when you have battle fatigue, that's usually leads to overtraining anyway, right?
Yeah, but it was like almost like an uneasy feeling. It was like I felt like my nervous system was just, and maybe it was, and I took days off, but I never trained more than 5 days a week. I just felt like crap that day, and then the next day I felt better, but my nervous system was shot. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do a lot of stimulants. Well, yeah, I guess I did. I did a lot of coffee when I was dieting, so who knows? It's possible that it could have been that, but I don't know. I think when you do super heavy weight, I think it really does wreak havoc on your nervous system, and I think that's why you really have to take days off to allow you and get enough sleep. Sleep is paramount. The way I sleep now with 4 hours a night, and I'm sure you do too, there's no way I could ever have been as big as I was. I could never have recovered from the workouts. I'd be sleeping in the middle of my...
Right. How many hours would you get in your heyday of growth? When you were growing, how many hours of sleep would you get?
I'd try for 9, to be honest with you. And I'd try to take a nap too if I could. What?
It's hard to, So I would say that's a minimum you need, 9.
Yeah.
Right? To grow, or 8 and a couple naps. The thing is, when you're training like crazy, you're always tired.
Yeah, because your body wants to recover. You're like a baby who's sleeping, who needs more sleep.
Eating all the time.
Well, look at you have young kids and you had babies in the house. They eat, they go to sleep. They eat, they go to sleep. And they grow like crazy when they do that. That's what a bodybuilder has to mimic what a child does. Eat, sleep, eat, train, eat, sleep. That the more you sleep and the more you eat and the harder you train, the better you grow. And it's bodybuilding 101, The guys that don't sleep.
It's funny how many grams of protein, Dave, do people recommend for building mass? How many grams of protein does like a 200-pound bodybuilder need?
Like 1.5 grams, I guess, right? Per pound.
So what about how many is a toddler, like an 18-month getting per, like, I'm trying to think, my son, he only weighs 30 pounds, but he drinks he must drink 45 grams of protein a day in milk.
No, well, yeah, but that's once they're at that age, a year old, they do milk. But, I was surprised how low the protein content is in formula, which they drink the first year. But then I thought about it.
It's very low formula.
Yeah, but they're drinking, but they only weigh, like, what do they weigh, 15 pounds? And they're drinking like 10 bottles a day. So even if it's 2 grams per bottle, they're still getting more than their body weight in protein. So it makes sense. It fits the formula. They get at least a gram per pound. And like you said, when they hit the stage where they're drinking milk all the time, they're probably getting almost double their body weight, Except my kids who weigh like they're like monsters, you know, when they're kids.
That's why they can lift those rabbits.
I guess. My son has stabilized his weight, you know, but he hasn't. But my daughter is like she weighs almost the same thing he does. She's 2, he's 4, so she's got her mother's legs. I had thin legs when I had muscular legs, but I had thin legs initially. Because I was so zero body fat when I was a kid. That's like my son. He's got like no body fat. I'm sure your sons are like that too, probably.
You're still zero body fat.
Yeah.
You're still zero body fat.
No, I know.
You've always been zero body fat.
But kids usually have fat on them. I don't know. My son burns everything off, and he doesn't. He's weird. Isn't it weird how kids will eat in spurts? He'll go for like a week. We'll eat like everything in sight, and then he'll just stop eating for a week or two, and just forage here and there. I think their bodies know when they need the food. You know, it's like instinctual.
Listening to the body.
Yeah. I mean, some kids just eat because they
lose their appetite, and then they.
Right. True.
All
right. Well, we inch closer to the Mr. Olympia competition. Have you decided? Are you going?
I'm trying to figure out how to get out there.
Okay, I got my friend who'll drive you.
And I haven't figured it out.
You haven't called him?
I know. And I'm trying to figure out how to get to Florida for November and December. So
yeah,
I might just come down.
Stay with Jen.
I don't know. You know what? People do this. People are flying out there, obviously, but people have asked me, how are you getting out there? Competitors who I'm not even coaching.
Right.
I'm like, how are you getting out there? They're like, well, I guess I'm going to fly, but I don't want to. So,
there's no other option.
I guess I'll bite the bullet.
If you're a competitor, you have to fly.
And how clean is the air, Dave?
It's terrible. Look, if someone on your plane is sitting next to you and has it, you're going to get it. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Now, what are the odds of that happening? Probably low.
How about 3 rows?
How about what?
Why? If they're sitting right next to you, how is the odds of it happening low? Oh, you mean the odds of the person having it?
No, yeah, the odds of someone having it are low. But I'm saying if they have it, you're going to get it. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, that that's going to happen. It's almost impossible. I mean, you're sitting on a plane next to them, it would be really hard unless you're sitting in a bubble or something like that.
How about if they're like 5 rows back?
I don't. That's a good question. That I really don't know. I don't even know the answer to that question. To be honest with you, I'd be speculating at best. At that point,
the airlines say their cabins are as clean as I can't remember what they.
I'm sure they probably are cleaner than ever, but the problem is people are breathing in there. So, right? If they stop breathing,
the problem when people are breathing.
Yeah. There was a IFBB Pro show in the Upper Midwest Pro in Fargo, North Dakota. I've actually been there twice, by the way. I know the promoter, Tom Kemper. And no relation to John Kemper, by the way. And he's a chiropractor, actually. Wendy Fortino won the pro figure there. Congratulations. I don't know. She won't be going to the Olympia. I don't think this counts toward the Olympia. I think we're done. Maybe this was the last one for figure. I don't know. And I think there was also a show in where else was there a show this weekend? There was one other show. Oh, the Legion Sports Festival was this past weekend as well. And there was a pro fitness event there. Orca Tiger Tiragale from Key West, Florida. She wins. She's got a good routine. I've seen her routine. I really like it. She'll be going to the Olympia. I think she was already qualified, however. That's interesting. I've never seen anyone just hold a pro fitness event. I guess I would hold one if I was doing a show. It's probably the most entertaining thing you can do, right, for your audience. Assuming you can have an audience, right?
Who's the audience? I just say, even if they're selling tickets, who's going to go?
Right, but I'm saying initially when they first figured out, hey, I'm going to do this show, I'm going to hold a pro division. I think I'm going to hold pro fitness. It'll probably be great for the audience. I'm sure they decided that before this whole COVID thing went down. Are you voting?
Got it.
Are you voting?
I'm going to vote tomorrow. I'm voting tomorrow because I'm not going to show up the day of and But you don't vote?
I haven't voted in millennia, in decades. I haven't voted because I don't care. Doesn't matter. Not gonna affect my life.
Shaq just voted for the first time.
Oh, he did? I don't have time. There's really long lines here. I don't have time to be waiting on line to vote.
Yeah,
you kidding me?
That's why I'm going tomorrow, so the lines are so long.
I have no interest in it. I have no interest. That's why I don't talk politics. Because I don't vote. If I don't vote, I can't really voice my opinion on anything. I don't have the right to. I'm part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Yeah. I vote for my city council, PTA, all of it I vote for.
That's more relevant probably, voting for those people, because that's actually going to have a real influence on your life, right?
Yeah.
When you vote, do they still have the voting booths they had when we were kids, when your parents would take you to vote?
Yeah, they do. They made it, yeah.
You pull the little levers on whatever, they do have that?
Take the marker and make you connect the circle?
No, but when my parents took me back in whatever it was, 70s or 80s, when they would go vote, there was a voting machine you went into. You went into this machine. They pulled the curtain behind you. I remember they take me in there, and there's all these little levers. It looks like almost like little light switches, and you pick this switch. It looks like like you have like your circuit box in your house. If the circuit goes out,
yeah,
that's what it was like. And they had a column, like the Democratic column, the Republican column, like the independent column, and then you go down the row and you'd see, all right, I want to vote for this one for president, this one for Senate, Congress, whatever they were voting on your state's ballot, in your area, and you vote for everyone. You leave. Oh no! Before you leave, you push the thing. There was a big lever, and it kind of wiped your votes clean, but it registered it in the machine, and then you walked out. Obviously, they don't do that anymore.
No, Maine it's a paper ballot, and you just you pull a little curtain behind you.
Yeah.
And you mark who you want with a little magic marker. That's it.
Right. I have no patience for those things. It would take me 30 seconds to do with the voting. I guarantee there's people in there for 20, 30 minutes probably. Can't even figure out how to fucking fill out the little dots in there, right? There is. That's why it takes so long. I was wondering why they have these people with the fucking long lines, because no one can fill out those little forms. You probably have to bring your own number 2 pencil too to do it. Right? Remember you took the SATs, you had to have your number 2 pencil?
Yeah. I remember when they switched the pencils from lead to non-lead. Yeah. Remember that?
No, I don't. I think that was before my time. Yeah, because people would eat the pencils. The kids would eat the lead. Why anyone would stick the fucking thing in their mouth and eat the lead, I have no idea. All I know is I remember my grandfather used to lick the end of the pencil before he would write. You remember that? I don't know I don't know. Maybe it wrote better. I don't know. He'd always lick the pencil, the tip of the pencil. I don't know. When
I'm all, I have the mask on, I try to lick my fingers right through the mask. I'm like, oh, that's right. I get the mask on. I'll do this.
There you go. Well, if you're gonna vote, go vote. Show some. Don't listen to me. I'm a bad influence. You should vote. It makes a difference. For now, though, we are out of time. I'm Dave Palumbo, and remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
There it is. We'll see you next week.